Alright guys, welcome back. Best of 7, map number 2. We just had an abusively long but incredibly delicious game depending on your point of view. I love those horrible scenarios, and I'm a sucker for the long games, but spawning here in the top left corner of the map, looking for some vengeance. He's down one at the moment. It's Samsung Galaxy Solar.
The bottom right as the blue Terran. He's YoDa Prime.
Alright, so we always kind of theorize what Zerg players must be, like what state of anguish they come into the second game after a situation like that goes through. Solar can be aggressive. I don't really know him to be too cheesy, but I know he can be aggressive when he wants to. What do you think thoughts are going into this one?
I believe when he faced against Gumiho at the Ultima League, he did a couple of cheesy things. I remember there was a lot of there were a lot of Lings. It was like there was like a Ling all in, there was a Ling Baneling all in. There was something else too. I forget, but that was I bring this up because it was a similar situation, right? He's tired, it's late, he's versing a potential mech player. He doesn't always go mech. I think he goes mech less than Gumiho still, but still a lot. And
oh yeah, Dream for the SSL stars.
What?
Yeah, Solar's playing Dream in the Star League, I think on the 18th? Yeah, so tomorrow.
Yeah, tonight.
Well, tonight for us, but tomorrow.
Well, 5 a.m., okay.
Okay, it's like 2 a.m. over there right now, I think. We gotta do math conversions, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like 7 p.m. their time. Why are we doing this? I don't know.
Sorry, I was just trying to inform the viewers who you were talking about, because you're like, oh, some mech player, and then you
Wait,
have to get all specific.
About? What are you talking? I was talking about Gumiho and YoDa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Solar having to play against Dream coming up.
No, I was talking about what he did the last time. Like, when he was playing Gumiho in the Ultima League, he did a couple of Ling all-ins.
This is called
And it's
synergy.
the same situation as now when he's facing another potential mech player.
Yeah, it's... I mean, you got to consider, like, what are the handful of things you can do to beat a player before they get to that stage? And sadly, a lot of them are, like, these kind of heavier all-ins, whether it's banelings or not. I always think back to the WCS finals, too. You can... Any Terran player who's not prepared for it, like a good baneling all-in, well-timed, can always bring you back into a game. I mean, Life just demolished MMA,
sure.
And it's... What I really hate about those finals, people always talk about, like, oh, MMA wasn't prepared. But I'm like, yo, MMA is always prepared. Don't kid yourself. That guy's a badass. So same situation for YoDa, where, like, he might want to play mech, but if Solar just hits him with a big Roach Bane all-in or something, he might not even get a chance to consider building that third starport.
If it's not going to be a cheese, like a Baneling bust or Roach Baneling bust on 2 bases, you know, barely 3, I think it's going to be something that's more geared towards the mid-game, right? So last game he went for Mutas. He did go for Roaches, but as you, like, it was at a time where it did not matter. There were enough tanks. There were supply depots covering all of the ramps. Roaches were not going to do anything. So he lost that timing. I think if he tries, you know, if it's the same situation, YoDa goes for mech again, it's going to be all about, like, busting with Roach immediately. If that doesn't work, Roach Hydra Viper very soon after. And if that doesn't work, not even try and take it to the late game, because then by then you're probably dead if it doesn't work 3 times.
Yeah, at that point you're like, okay, I may have expended a little too much trying to break it.
Yeah. It just, you know, if Solar puts down an Invitation Pit and goes for a Swarm Host, it's on him, okay?
I mean, Swarm Hosts aren't bad. Cane State Junk is actually a map we've seen pretty cool use of them on, I suppose.
Sure.
But
they're long game, and YoDa's style is good against Swarm Hosts.
Well, that is just, it's not what I picture. Like, I don't see Solar doing it, you know? Like, there's some players, you know, they'll do it. Sometimes they'll be good, sometimes they'll be bad. But Solar's just a guy who I don't even, in my mind, associate with the Swarm Host in the first place. Am I confident he could play them efficiently? Absolutely. He's that top tier of a caliber player. But I just, again, I don't see him doing the Swarm Host to break it.
Looks like he's gonna scout the Banshees. The Banshees really didn't do a whole lot of early game damage last game.
No, they were pretty well thwarted off. Those Hellbats, too, looked like they were going to do so much more, but they got jack squat for it. For Solar's sake, even if he didn't scout that, I mean, it's one of those scenarios where just like a Terran player might predict earlier Mutalisks because of the spawn locations, you kind of guess at a Banshees, too. It's just so easy to abuse mineral lines here.
Yeah. So Spore Crawler on each base. Not too many Lings out. In fact, almost none. Here they come now to help out the Queens with the Hellions. An Armory. Oh, double Armory again. YoDa See,
Yeah,
the first indication that they're going to be looking towards that whole 4-base air style is usually the double armory. At least that's what we see from Gumiho, right? If
yeah.
Gumiho throws down one armory, he usually tries and does the like the mid game attacks, like Hellbat Thor and whatnot. 2 armories, he's like, don't even touch me for 20 minutes. I'm gonna get up the battle cruisers.
Well, I think the key thing about that too is, let's not forget, it's you don't need armor when you play against Zerg for the most part. You know, level 3 armor on your tanks versus level 1 armor on your tanks, like mutas are still gonna kill them one way or the other. So a lot of times you don't see that armor investment for the ground army so much as you do the air army. But of course, wonderfully so, it benefits both. God, do you remember the time back when you had to get 4 different upgrades out of the armory?
I remember having to get Thor different upgrades out of the armory.
Yeah, clever. I like it. So, folks have been asking since the first game to see bets, guys. I keep forgetting, quite frankly. There was 15,799 partidos placed on YoDa and 10,430 on Solar. So, not too different of a scenario there. But all right, gonna focus on that Banshee right away. Does fall immediately. That takes away so much power out of this push. Just right off that bat, that Banshee being gone. It was a huge threat to the army, but there's still Hellbats coming in. The Banelings are not quite done, but they're spawn on top of the Hellbats, so rolls right in. No splits out of YoDa, so this attack lackluster at best.
Yeah, but so were all the Hellbat attacks last game.
Yeah, didn't stop him then.
No, did not.
He does get some queens for it ultimately. I didn't think those ones in the north were going to fall, but the Banshee with Cloakin is being a little too strong, and suddenly this actually goes really south for Solar because all of his anti-air is gone. Down to 2 queens.
Third Banshee about to pop out as well. YoDa can take a third now. Yep, that's what he does. I like Solar's counterattack. He has Lings, they're obviously very fast reinforcing, and the Hellion count will be low right now. You did kill most of the Hellions, and YoDa doesn't really have all that much production yet. Okay, Hellbats could probably help this out, but they're just gonna chill in the natural.
They're Hellbats, not help bats, okay?
Oh,
they do what they want. YoDa, again, this is such a small thing to bring up, but he is the guy who's been relentlessly scouting this entire tournament, all the way back from the qualifiers to here in the finals. And I want to stress, he was one of the folks who was qualified through. He earned his spot here, and he didn't get invited to it. So he's put a lot of work into this. And YoDa, I'm really glad he's here. And it's really cool to see the diligence of those scans. It's really not cost-effective in the long terms of things, but being able to see what Solar's doing every step of the way, being able to predict exactly what he's doing, it's definitely worth it.
Well, again, Solar is going for this mix of units. Lings, Baneling speed, roaches. I think it is a better map to push with it, as, on Overgrowth he had 2 supply depot walls, and that covered 3 bases, no problem. Here, there's not really, it could, I suppose, technically, but not really, wall off the 3rd.
4 Banshees, though, once again. These queens are going to struggle to deal with this. The Spore Crawler is trying to be routed to the front lines, but as we see, even if he deals with the Hellbats, gotta worry about these Banshees.
Yeah, Spore Crawler can reposition.
Spore Crawler! Hype! Drives them back, but there's still openings over here, so the Banshees aren't dead yet.
Yep. I mean, he's really killing a lot of queens. There's a lot of money going back into queen production. And the 3rd was not denied, not a whole lot of CVs died. None?
No, he didn't break the wall. If there had been like a Baneling bust, maybe this would have been a little bit different. But Solar, I feel, getting a little bit desperate to do that early game damage, to try and keep YoDa from getting to that late game scenario. Zerglings just, without Baneling support, they just don't cut it. There's so few instances in StarCraft 2 where like just straight up Lings work.
You could make them the Banelings right now. You try and do an attack, but the tanks are out. And this is like the time when I imagine things to do with Lings and Banelings, I'm imagining them without tanks, which is fine. Hellbat 4 is what you usually get first. But that 14 minutes seems to be the cutoff. Like, that's where you start getting tanks, and that's where the Baneling's not going to be useful. Well, there's more from the Banelings now. 12, a lot more Lings on the way. This 4th's going to be, the SCV is going to be the first thing to scout it.
I can't help but wonder, like, well, actually, these Banelings are not going to be nearly enough. As you say, maybe they can get some decent connects on the Thor, splash that out, but yeah, 2 Thors go down for the cost of a huge army out of Solar. Mutas in the main actually getting some damage done this game. Last time, of course, they're completely shut down by turrets. This is actually a big difference this time around.
Yeah. Thor takes a long time to go and defend that, and decides not that, I think losing more SCVs would have been worth the upgrade. Oh well. Oh well. There's a small counterattack of Hellions. Lings are here. Roaches are on the way. Upgrades are better. Better faster than they were last game anyways. And he is going to go for Swarm Hosts.
There's no breaking that planetary, not easily at least. The Swarm Host choice is not a bad one per se, but it is a situation where I haven't seen enough games out of Solar to really rate how good this is going to go for him. Again, just blanketly stating, Solar's a good, he's a great player. Oh, he's a rich to that sweet. That's awkward as hell.
But YoDa, why are you pushing out?
A little bit overexposed, but I don't think it's too bad for him. You see the tanks
Well, there's no-
do pretty good damage.
There's no reason to, technically. If you think about what he did last game. I mean, he lost out on a lot more than he did if he was sieged up with a 4th base planetary.
True enough. You know, interestingly, through that engagement that the Vikings land on the ground did die, so there's actually nothing to stop the Mutas over here picking up this gas.
Marines. They're pretty good.
You're funny. Actually, you know, I think that is a problem though. Like, I don't like these giving up potential Muta control. Oh man, but these Banshees been a real pain in the ass. Because I mean, this game they've been far more effective, and I think if he just kept at it, he would have definitely been able to keep the pressure on YoDa at home. I mean, I think that's we kind of ask why was YoDa pushing, and maybe this is because he knew there was nothing he was going to do at home with all these tanks, so put pressure on the other side of the field.
But that's what he does on Overgrowth. Like that's what Gumio does on King's Egg. I feel like it's more because he lost the armories and lost not so many units, but some units anyways to the Lings. But the armories, like as you say, he built them, but he's not using them. So it is kind of like he has given up on the whole charge to 3-3, get the battle cruisers idea. At least for now, he's going to be more aggressive than usual because of it.
I like these trying to hide these Lings, and the Hellbats actually get kind of baited the wrong way. He could make these into Banelings a little bit later and roll those in. In fact, that's exactly what he's going to do. So pretty cool move there out of Solar. Meanwhile, he snuck a lot of units off to the left side, so he's definitely going to put some pressure on the third. I don't know if these Swarmers can hold them. There's really just not a lot of them. They've been getting picked off by the Banshees this whole time, like ducking in and out like this. The Spore Crawler finally goes down. There's one more over here on the left side, but the Thors are just going to chip away the space. I'm having memories of all of YoDa's Thor drops leading up to that group stage.
Yeah. A lot of Lings do kill a lot of SCVs at the third, but on dwarf bases, he will be able to reproduce them. It's more about killing an army, maybe getting into the natural.
I might lose the command center if YoDa doesn't lift this. We've definitely seen worse play than this. If the command center goes down, this attack ends up being a lot better for Solar than I thought it was. This is just mostly Lings. I mean, there's a small handful of Banelings at most. He's going to get a lot of supply defense over here. This might even supply block YoDa. Solar, you know, he's actually getting some pretty good work done.
Yeah, finally. Things are looking up for Solar versus Mech right now. He's still on 4 bases because he took a base off to the left. He doesn't quite have enough minerals to go ahead and like double expand behind it. So that is one bad thing, I suppose, that his bank isn't too high, but neither is YoDa.
Well, this is definitely a game where he comes into a lot better positioning in the mid game. Last time it was really just YoDa's game through and through. You know, he had that push, he had the pressure, he had everything going for him. Losing an entire base really sets you off because YoDa, despite playing mech, his gas income hasn't been the most consistent. You know, Refinery picked off here, no guys are 7 and 8 gone. I mean, to get into that late game mech stage, to be on 4 bases isn't simply enough. You have to have the actual income with it too. So that's why we don't see that transition into battle cruise. That's why we don't see that transition into the badass you can't kill me mech mode.
Yeah, he's missing out on a lot of the key elements.
You know what? I'd love to see. It sounds silly, but like a Nidus room to the main might not be too bad. I don't think we've talked about this in a long time, but you know, it's always the Terran's production that's the Achilles heel. It's not the army. We can't replace the Thors, and who cares about the Thors on the front lines?
You say it's silly, but you always mention the Nidus in the main, so it's not silly at this point. It's just never going to be done though.
Oh,
wow!
It's a big hit from those Thors. I was looking at the army, seeing if that was going to go down because these cut upgrades are. This is another thing Solar really has going for him. I can't stress this enough. Like when you play mech, upgrades are a big freaking deal. Those vehicle platings in the air, okay, maybe that's something that's strictly for the late game, but it's really what's the difference of these Hellbats not doing much, the tanks not destroying everything, Locust Waves starting to rally across the map. I mean, Solar is, I like his position in this game.
Yeah, I certainly got a lot better than last game, but it's still a uphill climb because it's still mech. Like, yeah. Mech is always going to be hard to beat, whether it is battle cruisers or just the tank Thors and Vikings. YoDa, you know, I thought he built another command center. Maybe it got sniped off. Maybe, I don't know, but another one is on the way. So that third has not been retaken for a good, you know, 5 minutes now.
Tanks unsieged, get quite fast, quite hard. Lokes in the middle of the map. We're going to start breaking some of the siege tanks. This is something that does compile up pretty quickly. You lose 1 at first, then 2 the next time, and then 4 the next time, and suddenly your tank line is broken. So he's got to be careful about this. He's not really paying too much attention to the middle of the map, but at the same time, Solar's not really paying attention to his fourth over here, so this is going to go down. He did pull the drones from it, but that's about it.
Ultras are going to be more effective in this game.
Yeah.
As well.
I like the Ultra's choice, and I really like the fact that he's going for Infestors again. Problem is, he doesn't really have a whole lot of tech, like as we see just catching up on those level 2 weapon upgrades, and being forced to split down that range as well. So it's going to be a costly tech to get to the enemy.
Infestors aren't going to be as useful this game. You know, Fungals can always be okay. Infested Terrans can usually be pretty good against tanks, but there's not that desperate need to take care of the Vikings. Not yet, anyways. YoDa is trying to get a second starport, trying to get up to a couple of Ravens.
See,
second Ultra Skyburn for safety.
Actually, silly as it is, I actually like that choice, but I think it was just a mistake, so...
well, it cancels it, so I think you're right.
I think, though, one of the things going to this again, like, I really said I wasn't sure how the Swarm Host control is going to look out of Solar. There's so many times where I feel we see Zerg players, even at the top level, just make a lot of Swarm Hosts and that's it. They don't really think towards the static defense. They don't think about the protection or the assists. I like that he actually went for this number of, like, was that 15 or something? 16 Swarm Hosts, and just kind of sits with this very comfortable amount that can provide pressure, that can take on a decent army size in one engagement, but it's not such a commitment that he can't make other units.
Oh.
Push down here towards that third yet again. Recently reestablished. Timing's gonna hit quite nicely as he gets on top of the tanks. Maybe? Maybe? Okay, there we go. Gets on top of the tanks.
Yeah, he does. The rest of the army is there, though, so can't do too much damage on top of that. But 4 tanks is a nice pickoff.
Yeah. I think one of the things, too, we're going to start seeing these Swarm Hosts finally with this positioning move up to this base, but there's so many tanks here. For what Solar may want to do is just leave half the Swarm Hosts here even, and just keep the pressure so the tanks can never move, and then bring those other half down here to the third or something. But the only way to really break a tank line is to come at it from 2 different angles. You're never going to run into one choked funnel like this and have a good time.
YoDa finally starting to get that second upgrade, the armor upgrade as well. I think he has made 2 armor, like he had to remake the 2 armories. I think he had to do it again. I might be wrong on that one, but he's had them for like 8 minutes and like has not used them.
YoDa's gonna see this coming. Solar dived in a little too deep. Doesn't know about the depot mission, sadly. So really cool moves being made out of both players. Really subtle things that are just keeping them in this game, and no one really taking bad trades. I mean, we look at the resources lost, and yeah, it's a little bit worse for Solar, but that's Zerg in general for you. You know, they're not made to trade out with medevacs and keep those units alive. So, leading into what has been, the Locusts have actually done very minimal amount of damage this game, but it's all these other things like the run-bys and the roach attacks that have really been getting Solar his damage versus YoDa. And even though YoDa is on 4 bases, I think Solar dragged this out long enough that as we see the mineral patches are depleting, he's not really on 4 bases. He can't really go for that air tech. You know, he's putting down the starports now, but as far as the money left and what is these 2 bases, that's not enough to pump out 4 battlecruisers at a time. Yeah,
a lot more trading than normal for what YoDa wanted to do. So this is in the back of a big bang for the back of a very small one. This attack
blinding
kind
clouds
of bold,
are nice.
but the blinding clouds are actually really super nice. And
Oh,
the good
fungal
fungals
growth
and the Vikings.
combined with infested Terrans underneath this. If these can hatch, they're going to kill a lot of that air, but there's the blinding clouds dissipating and everything on the ground is going to start dying. Even the Ultralists just melt like nothing at all. But look at the Vikings die. Oh, he's going to lose the planetary. He's going to lose the planet. Okay, repairs are going down, but oh my god, the damage to the attack on the Solar is fantastic. Now that the Vikings are removed, there's not a big clump of anti-air. There's still some Vikings in play, but that was a good half the Vikings that died there. In fact, what was that? 7 went down.
6 more Ultras away from Solar. YoDa, he is on a comfy 4-ish bases. You've noted the main and the natural are mined out, so he doesn't have the worst army. He's gonna have an okay one to deal with Swarm Host for sure. It just, you know, that transition into battlecruiser into air is looking worse and worse for him. Like, it's going to be a very slow, very not powerful transition. Like, instead of 4 battlecruisers at a time with like 12 Vikings and 4 Ravens, it's 1 battlecruiser at a time with like 6 Vikings. Not nearly as powerful. And King Sejong, the positions are so much better when it comes to abducts on the spore crawlers.
YoDa's starting to scan. He's really starting to measure his situation right now. Again, his 3-3 is so late to this game, 30 minutes in, hardly what he wanted to see. He knows he doesn't have the money to mass-produce battlecruisers, and quite frankly, with the amount of Vikings that died, Solar, well, he doesn't right now need to make Corruptors. By the time he does, it's going to be a pretty manageable amount. YoDa actually can't afford to throw away those SCVs the way we normally see. He doesn't have that extra base up and running. It's 2 bases, almost more like 1.5, quite frankly. There's just not enough money to make that indestructible army.
And you might be thinking, why doesn't he take that base off to the left? And he could certainly try. He has enough orbitals that losing one might be worth the attempt. But it's so easy to attack. Like, the whole thing about mech is that the army is good when it's all together. You try and split it up, even though it might seem like a close position, it's actually too far.
So this is where I start wondering, well, hold that thought. We got Blinding Clouds coming in, the big attack once. Again, lots of infested Terrans. He catches the Vikings in a fungal growth. No way these ones are going to live to see another day. The Planetary, well, okay, he's getting the repair, but the tank line is broken. He took out a good quarter of the tanks easily. The Planetary falls. YoDa now absolutely starving for money.
Now he just replaced that planetary, but it was a planetary, man. It was helping out in some forms. And repair faster probably could have saved it.
He's going to lose the sensor tower, too, if he's not careful. 3, 2, 1.
I think YoDa's kind of like, he's just going to admit the tank losses, admit that he won't have Thors anymore, and he's going to go straight to battlecruisers. The problem is, it really is about like the whole composition, you know? Like, battlecruisers, Ravens, Vikings, and 1 or 2 Thors to help out against the eventual Corruptor switch.
And that's the thing, too. I mean, as these tanks get whittled down, okay, he's transitioning to air, so the tanks are less of a big deal. Who cares about the ground? Swarm host can't shoot up. But that's the thing. With the Swarm host, with everything here, if he's just got pure air and there's no tanks on the ground, there's nothing to keep those infestors back. There's nothing to stop them from plopping down 40 infested Terrans or even fungal growths on top of the army.
Suppose YoDa's finally gotten up to those good upgrades, but try not to get fungal. You need to keep that air alive.
Again, we got some secret missiles coming down. We'll see if we can outrun these. Looks like they are going to dot out, and the infestors will live to see another day. The infested Terrans are clearing this up, and so are the Ultralists. Solar is about to break YoDa, and even though there's battlecruisers in the air, it's not going to matter, because YoDa, he's got nothing to fight with. He's going to lose the command center again. The Locusts are going to kill us. He'll actually lift it up, maybe, but...
Left!
Nope. So I love this. So this is the dynamic of what you see. You see game number 1 be the abusive mech style that goes to Reddit that everyone complains about is the cancer of StarCraft 2. But then you have game 2 where Solar plays the exact same scenario against the player who goes mech yet again, but he plays it better, he plays it smarter, he plays it more aggressive, and he finds holes to deal damage and never lets YoDa get to that point. So I mean, this is just... It looks like there was nothing going on other than a slow Swarm host push, but everything he did was drain YoDa's attention and resources to reinvesting in tanks when otherwise he would have been building a 3rd starport. Rebuilding these bases that he keeps losing. Solar did so many things right this game, and I really like it.
He doesn't have any Hellbats left over. Okay, it's 2 Hellbats that I see, but not enough, not in position to deal with the Ling run by.
Well, you know, with the Ling run by his side, it's at that point of the game too where he's not going to make gas. He can only really make Hellbats. He can only really make Hellions. And,
there's no gas and there's no money.
That's what
you know what is different about about YoDa and Gumiho is that Gumiho always leaves minerals in his main and natural. He keeps expanding and leaves that to a situation like this where you would have to fall back to your initial 4, so at least have something going for you when you return home.
Well, this is not Gumiho, this is YoDa, and he's going to fall in game number 2. Solar will turn the series around and tie it up 1-1. That being said, another really long game, guys. Hope you'll give us a second to breathe here. We're going to play 2 minutes of ads, and we'll be back in just a moment for game number 3. With this best of 7 finals, I'm not gonna, I actually want every game to go like that. We'll see you guys in a sec. Thanks for watching. I got a BRB real quickly, host.
Turbo mode enabled. Turbo mode enabled. Let's play pinball.